What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back in to another Sands and Friends podcast. Yay! Thank you guys for tuning in. All my new listeners, all you guys are greatly appreciated. I appreciate you finding me. Appreciate you paying attention. I appreciate you coming in. Come on in. The water's just fine. Sit back and relax. I got the drive. We're gonna get there on time. Hey, all my returning listeners, y'all know how it go. Y'all know what already. Y'all already done been through the door, come back and forth, baby. And it's all love here. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, with that being said, this is the Sands and Friends podcast. You come on in, you might get Sands, you might get friends, you might get Sands and friends. But you ain't gonna know till you come on in. So come on in where the water just fine and dive in. Well, hey, what we do here at Sands and Friends, we put our spin on current events, life, and sports. What we got here on the College Report, we got Game of the Week. We have the top 10 and the best of the rest. We have Exam Week, where we see who got the tough games. Then we have Trap Games. And then we have Small School Spotlight. And then after that, we have my Pick 10, okay, where we pick the top 10. We pick the top 10 games. If a team is off, we just bump it down the line, okay? So with that being said, we're going to start off with our first segment, the Game of the Week. Game of the Week is going to be number 9, Missouri, traveling down to Texas to play Texas A&M, who's ranked number 25. Missouri comes in 4-0. Texas A&M coming in 4-1. It's not much action going on in the top 10, so these teams are the game of the week on Sands and Friends podcast. No team in the top 10 is favored by less than double digits, so not much action, competition. They all should win. Missouri comes in undefeated 4-0 on an 8-game win streak. They beat Vanderbilt 30-27 in 2 overtimes last week. 2 overtimes. The offense was clicking on all cylinders. You had Brady Cook out there. He threw for 226 yards and 2 touchdowns. You had Nate Noel. He ran for 199 yards. And Luther Burden III was a burden on him. Caught 2 touchdown passes last week. They'll need all of that again to look to continue their streak and get to that 9 in a row. A&M coming in at 4-1 after beating Arkansas 21-17. Quarterback Marcel Reed was responsible for all the scores as he threw 2 touchdowns and ran another. Oh no, 3. 2 touchdowns and ran 1. Okay. Le'Veon Moss, he ran for 117 yards. Noel Thomas, he caught 6 catches, 109, and a tutty boy. And they gonna need that. Again, they did that to chip in a victory last week. They're gonna need that again to keep up with the high-scoring Tigers. And they're gonna need some defense, okay? So, hey, that's the game of the week. And hey, you'll get my prediction on that at the end of the show in the Pick 10, okay? Moving on to the next segment, we got the top 10 and the best of the rest. We're going to cover who the top 10 playing, and then we're going to cover the best of the rest, okay? We're going to get into it with Alabama versus Vandy. 4-0 Bama going against 2-2 Vandy. We got number 2 Texas on a bye week. We got number 3 Ohio State 4-0 going against Iowa 3-1. We got Tennessee number 4 at 4-0. They're playing against Arkansas. We got UGA Georgia. They're 3-1. They're playing against Auburn, who's 2-3. You got Oregon sitting at number 6. They're 4-0, and they're playing against Michigan State, who's 3-2. You got Penn State Nittany Lions playing against UCLA. They're undefeated at 7. UCLA's 1-3. Miami 5-0, going out to California, knows how to party. Going out to Miami, that's where game day is going to be. College game day is going to be out there at Cal. And you got Miami playing them. Number 9 is the game of the week, Missouri versus number 25, Texas A&M, 4-0, 4-1. Okay, then you got Michigan, number 10 at 4-1, going out to Washington to play in a rematch of last year's championship game, 3 into Washington, okay? Now, we're going to talk about the best of the rest because ain't nothing left to talk about. Top 10, the best of the rest games, you got UCF going to Florida Gators, 3-1 UCF at 2-2 Florida Gators. You got Duke sitting at 5-0, gonna play against Georgia Tech, 3-2. All right, you got Boston College at 4-1. They're gonna take on Virginia, who's 3-1. You got Pittsburgh versus North Carolina. Pittsburgh is 4-0. Carolina is 3-2. You got Rutgers at Nebraska. Rutgers 4-0. Nebraska 4-1. James Madison University, JMU, coming at 4-0. They're going to take on Louisiana Monroe, who's 3-1. Okay. And the last but not least, you got Texas Tech going to go take on Arizona Wildcats. Wow. Texas Tech coming in at 4-1. Gunslingers, pow, 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 playing against Arizona, 3-1. Okay. That was top 10 and best of the rest. Next, we're going to have exam week. You ever been in the middle of school in college and you're like, oh, I got that exam this week. Ooh, got that exam this week. Ooh, that means it's a tough week. It's a tough test, okay? So exam week, we're going to go over who got some tough matchups today, okay? Exam week. Dun, 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 dun. Coming in with exam week, guys. First up for examination is number 10, Michigan, going on the road to take on Washington Huskies in a rematch of last year's championship game. Michigan won that 34-13 over Washington, but the rosters have all changed. The people are not the same, but the game remains the same. So we're going to see if the same result remains the same. I don't know. We'll find that out. But Michigan is having their first road game. All right. They have all their games at home so far. 4-1. Like I said, all these rosters have changed. These people, the faces are different, but hey, the pedigrees still remain, okay? Washington is 3-0 at home after losing their opener to Washington State. They lost to Washington State, and they've been 3-0 at home, okay? Washington State was on the road. Michigan comes in with Alex Orji and Khalil Mullins to run that football. Hopefully they can run the ball for them. And Washington coming in with Will Rogers out there with 10 touchdowns and no interceptions on the year. They have Denzel Boston and Jonah Coleman, the running back. So we'll see what matches up out there on the West Coast. Michigan versus Washington, the first exam. The next exam we got is Ohio State, number 3, playing against Iowa. Ohio State is 4-0. Iowa is 3-1. This is going to be Ohio State's first Big Ten game. So, hey, they're going to have a challenge there. They're finally stepping into conference play. But they've had all their victories outside of conference play by plus 30 points. So that's looking good right there for Ohio State. Iowa, though, they lost to Iowa State. But since then, they've been dominant as well. They've been beating opponents by 36.3 points a game since that. So, hey, we're going to see who 30 going to match up. Your 30 going to beat my 30? Your 36 going to beat my 30? We're going to see. We're going to find out. Ohio State, look out for Jeremiah Smith. He out there, 364 yards, 6 touchdowns on the year so far. Iowa's going to come in with Caleb Johnson, 685 rushing yards and 9 touchdowns on the year. Iowa has a strong defense, but is Ohio State offense stronger? That's going to be the question to find out. Tune into that game and see what's going to happen. Next exam is going to be Ole Miss, number 12, 4-1, going to South Carolina, 3-1. Ole Miss, this is going to be their first SEC road game. So they're going to be on the road for an SEC game, their first one. Ole Miss lost last week to Kentucky, 20-17, while South Carolina been laying in the wings, had a bye week, plotting on for 2 weeks. Been thinking about kicking that for 2 weeks. So we're going to see what South Carolina can bake up right there. You got Jackson Dart going to be coming in, leading Ole Miss. He's got 1,815 passing yards with 13 touchdowns, with 3 additional rushing touchdowns as well. Dare say Heisman? Oh, I said Travis. Then they got Henry Parrish Jr. running that ball to the tune of 489 yards and 8 touchdowns. Lenore Sellers is looking to come back from injury for South Carolina. He leads them with 393 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. Raheem Sanders, the top running back for South Carolina, 286 yards, 4 touchdowns. Can South Carolina defense contain Ole Miss high-powered? We're going to find out. But hey, check this out. 13 of the past 15 games between these two have been close as 7 points. Next up on exam week, we got Iowa State 4-0, number 16 team in the nation at home, hosting against Baylor, who's 2-3. And why that's an exam? How that's an exam at 2-3? Because Baylor been on the exam. This Baylor third exam in a row. Baylor played Colorado, lost a close game. Then they played BYU, just lost that close game. And now they playing Iowa State. This their third tough game in a row. So, hey, Baylor, they trying to get over the hump this time. So, Baylor had those 2 close losses. Iowa State then held everybody they played under 20 points. So they got a strong defense. That's what the signs say. But Baylor has won 6 of the last 10 games between the two. But, hey, this is going to be a QB matchup. You're going to want to watch the QBs in this one. They both kind of stepping into their role. You got to see what they do. They got a good team around them, but you're going to have to watch the quarterbacks. Quarterbacks in this one is going to be Sawyer Robertson for Baylor. He has 787 yards passing and 6 touchdowns on the year. Then you got Rocco Becht coming in with Iowa State Cyclones for 896 passing yards with 7 touchdowns. Iowa State is looking to become 5-0 since the first time since 1980. Baylor wants that upset. Last exam on the exam week is Louisville, number 22, playing against SMU. Louisville is 3-1. SMU is 4-1. Reason why this is the last one is because this is really a test. This is really for all the marbles early in the season for who's going to be the leader in the ACC. Who's going to get in the driver's seat. Is you going to ride shotgun, or is you going to be in the back, or is you going to drive this mug like a big old Cadillac? Hey, so Louisville lost last week to Notre Dame 31-24. SMU trounced Florida State to the tune of 42-16. Tyler Shaw from Louisville has thrown for 1,114 yards and 11 touchdowns. Ja'Cory Brooks from Bradenton has caught 368 passing yards and 4 touchdowns. Kevin Jennings from SMU has thrown for 733 yards and 6 touchdowns. You got Brashard Smith coming in at running back, 509 yards with 7 TDs. R.J. Maryland with 221 and 3 TDs. And did I mention he's a tight end? So, hey, in this one, it should be a close game between the two. Louisville is favored by 6.5 points. Maybe a field goal difference? I don't know, but either way, that's exam week. So glad it's over. On to the next segment, baby. Next segment is trap games. Trap games. Trap game. What is a trap game? A trap game is, okay, we just had a big game last week. Now we play a sorry team this week. We can take it easy and just beat them. That's a trap game. A trap game is also, you have a big game after this game. So you're looking forward to playing your big opponent next week. So you take this team lightly and for granted. Trap game. A trap game also is, it don't matter where you at in the schedule. You just think you better than this team and you should beat this team, and you come in casual and they be them put their foot to beep. Trap game. So basically, we're going to go over trap games today. Trap games of the week are Ohio State versus Iowa and Oregon versus Michigan State. The reason why these two are trap games is because those two teams play each other next week. Ohio State playing Oregon next week, okay? So because those two teams playing next week, they might overlook this opponent this week. So if you're looking at who they're playing Michigan. Oregon's playing Michigan State. Ohio State just beat them 38-7. So what Oregon gonna do to them? direct comparison. Like, hey, I beat them up, you beat them up. Now, hey, I beat them up faster than you. So, but hey, they're gonna play each other next week, and Ohio State's playing Iowa. So, trap game perhaps. We'll find out and see. Next trap game is Penn State versus UCLA Bruins. Penn State undefeated, but they'll get USC, number 11, USC coming in next week. So that's going to be a game that they can overlook. Like, we'll beat this California team, but we got to worry about the next one and tend to overlook them. Could they cover the point spread? It's a big point spread in there. Can UCLA find some offense and cover that point spread? Harbor?
Hello?
Ethan Harbor? Why do I know his name? Why do I know your name, Ethan Harbor? I know your name. Next trap game is going to be Navy. Navy is 4-0. They're playing against Air Force, who's 1-3. People going to look at that and say, "Oh, I'm betting on Navy." But when the forces play each other, all the records go out the window. All the records just go out the window. Nothing even matters because they all playing for pride. They all playing for a lot. So that's like ultimate rivalries when forces play other forces. So could be a trap game, but I don't know. Navy's looking pretty solid. Then you got Army. Dun, 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 dun. They're forces, but they're not playing. They're playing Tulsa, who's 2-3. And Tulsa's known to pass the ball. So Army has a strong rushing attack. So we're going to see who gets off a little bit more. You know, Army going to try to control the game a little more with that rushing attack. But Tulsa had a propensity to score fast and in a hurry. So hey, they might be able to find success with that pass. So we'll see what happens. And those are the trap games of the week. Thank you for tuning in. Next segment is the small school spotlight. That's where we like to shine a light on some of the little guys. Show them some love. Let them see what it's like to rise above and get mentioned. Hit a name in there. Like, "Mama, listen to that. I'm playing this guy. I know he gonna cover me. And my name, he gonna say my name." Everybody like to hear their name called, so I try to call as many names as possible, but college is crazy because there's so many names, and I can't name all y'all, so hey, all y'all my sons. I'm nephew, I'm aunt. Hey, all y'all my nephew, god dang it. So, small school spotlight. Here we go, shining that spotlight on a small school. First spotlight, we got number 2, North Dakota State. And we're going on down to FCS. We got number 2, North Dakota State, going against number 7, North Dakota in this one. So, juicy matchup. North Dakota State 4-1, North Dakota 4-1. Somebody going to 4-2. Is it going to be me? No, it's going to be you. So, hey, they got a tough matchup coming up. You got North Dakota State. Remember, they played Colorado that first game of the season. Don't you ever forget. But, hey, that's their only loss on the season. If you think about it, that's their only loss. And, hey, they've got Cam Miller at quarterback. He thrown for 1,143 yards with 9 touchdowns. You got Shamar Brown, who's rushed for 366 yards and 5 touchdowns. You got Bryce Lance receiving 305 yards and 4 touchdowns for North Dakota State. Looking at the opposition, North Dakota, they got Simon Rumfo, quarterback, 940 yards passing, 7 TDs. Isaiah Smith running that thing at 345 and 5 touchdowns. You got Bo Belquist receiving 478 yards and 5 touchdowns. So, hey, we'll see if Bo Belquist makes a name for himself, Ramfo makes a name for himself, or is Cam Miller them boys like, hey, they showed up that first week in Colorado. Moving on, we got Central Arkansas, who's number 5, going against number 16, Abilene Christian. Central Arkansas is 4-1, Abilene Christian 3-2. Central Arkansas comes in with Will McAvane, throwing for 1,012 yards with 6 touchdowns on the season. Then you got Shonderick Powell running that thing and catching that thing as he's leading the team in rushing and receiving yards.
Nice.
He has 801 rushing, 195 receiving, and he has 12 total touchdowns, 10 rushing already. Abilene Christian coming in with Maverick McIver, quarterbacking them. He's thrown 1,606 yards and 11 TDs. And he got Sam Hicks at running back. Sam is running for 383 and 5 touchdowns. Nehemiah Martinez with 409 yards and 5 touchdowns. So we're going to see if Abilene Christian can stop Shonderick Powell or which one of the Macs is going to attack. McIlvain or McIver? We'll find out. Central Arkansas versus Abilene Christian. The third game is Idaho versus Northern Arizona, NAU. Idaho's number 10, NAU's number 25. So Idaho's got Jack Wagner at QB, 688 and 6 touchdowns. Elisha Cummins at running back, 294 and 1 touchdown. You got Jordan Dwyer out there, receiver, at 358 and 3 touchdowns. NAU comes in with Ty Pennington at quarterback, 810 yards with 6 touchdowns. Then they got Darvon Hubbard, 301 and 3 touchdowns rushing. They got Brizai White, wide receiver, 202 yards and 2 touchdowns on the season. So we're going to see if Jack Wagner can lead. That's going to be a quarterback matchup right there. You're going to see which quarterback kind of leads in that one. Everything else is pretty even. So we'll see between Idaho and Northern Arizona. We got Illinois State and Southern Illinois as our last game for the small school spotlight. Now, I got a personal affinity for these guys. I went to Eastern Illinois, as you can see back there. And we played against both of these teams in the playoff. They put me out 2 years in my playoff misery. My last game was against Illinois State. So Illinois State's number 18, Southern Illinois is number 19. Illinois State's coming in with Tom Rittenhouse at quarterback. He's thrown for 822 with 6 touchdowns. They got Winkers Wright at running back, 469 and 3 touchdowns. You got Xavier Lloyd at wide receiver, 288 yards and 2 touchdowns on the season. And the Southern Illinois Salukis coming in with Hunter Simmons, 692 and 3 touchdowns, quarterbacking for them. DJ Williams running that thing for 555 yards and 4 touchdowns. And you got Keontez Lewis for 399 yards and 2 touchdowns. Keontez Lewis. And that is the small school spotlight, guys. Appreciate y'all guys out there balling, man, giving me something to report, something for your people to look out for. Put your name on the map, put your city on the map. Shout out to Coach OTB. What up, Jay? Moving on to the next topic, and the final topic, the moment we all been waiting for. This is the Pick 10, where we pick the top 10 games of the week. Basically, we're going to pick the top 10. They're ranked number 1, we're picking it. You pick number 2, we're going from 1 to 10 in the rankings, and we're going to pick the games. I ain't going to make it easy. I ain't going to cherry pick and choose the hard game, choose the easy game. No, I got to choose the top 10 games. If you swung on them and you don't know which ones to go, maybe this might help you out. Top 10. Hey, this right here is the Pick 10, guys. Appreciate y'all guys tuning in to the Pick 10 on Sands and Friends. All right, guys, y'all tuning in to this segment, the final segment on a college sports report, the Pick 10, where I pick the top 10, okay? First off in that top 10, we got number 1, Alabama at Vanderbilt. Man, Bama wins big, man. Bama wins big, 45-14, man. Bama, take the over. Take the over in that game, 45-14, Bama over Vandy. Iowa at Ohio State. Ohio State win a close one on this one, guys. It ain't going to be as 30-pointish as they've been used to. Iowa got the good defense, and they run the ball, so they're going to try to control the game. So Ohio State wins a close one, 31-21, okay? I'm taking Iowa plus the points. Tennessee at Arkansas. The Vols, too much offense. Too much offense for the Arkansas Razorbacks to handle. 42-21, Tennessee covering that spread. You got Auburn at Georgia. Georgia is looking to bounce back, and they're going to cover the spread. A big spread at that, 22.5. Oh, they finna put it on Auburn. Oh, Georgia finna put it on Auburn. Take Georgia, 45-21, okay? Number 5 is Michigan State and Oregon, okay? because Texas is off. So number 5 is Michigan State at Oregon. Both teams looking to bounce back from not covering the spreads last week. But I think it's going to be Oregon that gets it done to the tune of 52-17. I think that's going to be the final score. And Oregon covers that big spread of 23.5, 22.5, wherever you're betting at. UCLA at Penn State. Penn State wins it big, man. Covers that big 27.5 spread. Penn State wins it 35-7. Penn State defense is going to be on display in this one. Pay attention. Miami at Cal. Miami covers the 10.5 spread. They're the 10.5 favorites. They're going to cover that, maybe albeit late, but they're going to cover it 35-24. Miami covering the spread on College game day. Michigan at Washington. I just think Michigan finds a way. Much closer than the championship game, though. Much closer than the championship game. Michigan 28, Washington 21. Baylor at Iowa State. You know, we mentioned this earlier in the show. Baylor at Iowa State. Iowa State wins it, but Baylor plays it close and they cover. The cover is like 13.5. I got Iowa State 27-17 because they don't have such an explosive offense. They rely on that defense a little bit and they can score points, but they don't have such an explosive offense that Baylor's just get used to playing. So they played against Hunter, they played against BYU. I think they might be able to work a little bit this week. And our game of the week, Missouri Tigers at Texas A&M. Think it's just going to be too much offense for Texas A&M. Missouri's just coming in with too much high octane, and I don't think they're going to be able to hang. I don't think they're going to be able to maintain to keep up with the Missouri Tigers. The Missouri Tigers got too much octane. I don't think that Texas A&M going to be able to hang. That's what I meant to say. Texas A&M is not going to be able to hang. Missouri wins it 35-21 to go to 9 consecutive games and 5-0 since 1980, guys. Hey, those are my top 10 picks. Hey, that's my pick 10. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Hey, to Sands and Friends. Hey, you could have been anywhere in the world, but you're right here with me. Hopefully your betting strategies and your fantasies come true. But hey, if you liked it here, go ahead and share it to a friend. If you loved it here, go ahead and come right on in. Come be a guest or come comment, show love, show support to the channel. Hey, appreciate you guys tuning in to Sands and Friends. This is an episode of College Sports Report, all done and complete. You know what I like to say around here? See you at the TOP, baby.